We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good evening, welcome to Talk of the Toon on NUFC Matters with me and Sid, who is sporting a rather natty Undertones t-shirt today.
I am, yes, the Jimmy sleeve there.
Very good, mate, very good. Songs from the Attic 1977 is Sid's YouTube channel. Give it a subscription if you like your music. And halfway through the show, as always, we'll be talking music and books, and always look forward to that when we get a chance to do that. But lots to talk about, as always, on the Newcastle United front. And as I say, this is a pre-recorded show, but feel free to drop your messages into the chat and leave some comments on the video afterwards, especially if you want to request a song for Rob to review or an album to review on next week's show. But yeah, it's still silly season, I guess, with the transfers. Interesting change of tact. I don't know. Things seem to get ramped up at the weekend, Sid, with you almost felt as if certain journalists knew the outcome of Man City's attempts to take the Premier League to court, because suddenly we got a spate of stories which essentially, you know, involved our club and others, of course. You know, this one's going here, that one's going there, and you know, it just seemed to go wild, which of course, as always, leads to complete meltdown on Newcastle United's timeline. And we'll take each story as a separate story. Let's talk Minty first. And on the fans forum on Monday, we were talking in depth with the lads about it. We had a packed fans forum. We had 11 other lads on, and most people tended to agree on most points, but Minty seemed to split everybody in the sense that some people feel that Minty should come in, should be given a chance, as he's had such a great season last season, and he should be allowed to, you know, to try and, you know, make a name for himself at Newcastle United and go on and do some great things in a black and white shirt. Other people felt if it's going to help the PSR and the FFP, if we have got to sell somebody before the end of June, I would rather sell Minty than sell Bruno, to ease the pressure on the club before we get into the new financial year. So you can see why it split fans. And I mean, Barry and a couple, you know, Barry had one opinion, Spenny had another opinion. They were going hammer and tongs at each other on Monday. And it doesn't often happen like that on the show. It was all polite and, you know, everyone was friends at the end of it. But it just shows you, you know, how many people have got different opinions on this young lad who ultimately, Sid, has never played a game in a black and white shirt for Newcastle professionally. What do you think?
It is, and he's playing, let's be honest, in a pretty poor league. However, he has played in the Champions League. And it's funny because there are two sides of the argument, obviously. But what people forget as well, because people then give well, look at Anthony. He's come along and he's rubbish. But there are plenty of other Dutch players who've come across and been terrific. I mean, look at our centre-half, for example. Played in the same league, you know. So you can't have it both ways, you know, is one argument. You know, it's a tough one. The lad's a young kid. He's lightning quick. I would be good to see him go. However, now that we've all turned into financial accountants over the last couple of years, in terms of PSR, the amount of money, let's say we get 30 million for it, because that seems to be the sort of middle figure. I think, they're quoting 40, 25, we'll go 30 here. I think it equates to something ridiculous, like about £100 million, or maybe it's a little bit more. You'd be mad not to sell him. As much as it would choke me to see a young kid go, we love nothing more than seeing a young player coming through as a Newcastle fan, and that probably goes for every other fan base as well, to be honest. But he looks terrific. However, he's never played a game for it, so we don't have that emotional attachment. I mean, they're making him out like he's David Ginola, some of the fans at the minute, and you're thinking, well, hold on, he's played in a pretty poor league. We've seen plenty of attacking players come over and not be great. I mean, Gakpo, not another player who's all right for Liverpool. I see Anthony's been appallingly bad. So on the attacking front, you could argue it's not a great league, but you got the flip, as I was saying before. There you got the likes of Botman, who comes across and looks like a terrific player. So it's a real tough call regarding the league. I personally think the league's probably on a par with the Championship. That's where I see the Dutch league. I think it's about probably on a par with the Championship. So he looks like he can cut the mustard at Championship level. So is he going to make it at Premier League level? We don't know until we try. He looks a real prospect. Because of the amount of money that we can get, I would sell him. Obviously, and I mentioned this last week as well, with the buyback clause or a big sell-on, because he might not work, and at least you then get a sell-on as well, So it's a win-win in some respects. Yes, it'll be a bit of choke if he turns out to be the next Mo Salah, but we're still in the early building stages, People forget that, but I think people assume that, we've been owned for about 10 years by the owners, and that we're sort of way down the project. We're not. We're just sort of going up to step 2, So we're nowhere near in terms of being able to just have a shed load of money and do what we want. So we've got to work within the parameters that we've got. And unfortunately, and it would really sicken me to see the player go, because obviously I'd rather sell Mickey, I'd rather sell Sean Longstaff, if I'm being honest, and a couple of others. But it is what it is. It is what it is, and I would sell him, as much as it would choke me. But because financially it sounds like, although I don't quite get the whole, I would assume we would not be struggling financially. And I know what the claims that I've read online is that they didn't include both lots of seller money, or certainly the first lot of seller money. So should they be struggling financially, they could always throw that in to the pot to clear up some of the debt. But they must have contingencies, surely. They must have contingencies to get around PSR. If they haven't, they've not done the job properly. And if they haven't, then you look at the deal for Hall. Was it really a necessary deal, for example? If it's going to potentially cost the club points, because let's be honest, if we don't sell the lad and he looks like he's going, and we get hit by points, we know we will be set as an example in terms of a penalties regarding points. Absolutely much more than Everton, for example. For a fact we'll get hammered. So, good to see the lad go. He's definitely gone by the looks of it. It looks like an absolute done deal. He's going to go to one of the 3 or 4 European clubs. So,
definitely, you can see why it's caused like so much consternation though on the various forums.
Absolutely,
because he did have a good season last season, but
he had an excellent end of season, didn't he? Excellent last 3 or 4 months where he suddenly seemed to click for him. He started scoring goals. He seemed to have a bit more of an end product. But let's be honest, how many of us have actually watched him play rather than just a YouTube clip? And don't get me wrong, the YouTube clips, he looks amazing. But, we can make some of our lesser players, I think is the polite way of saying it, look amazing with YouTube. So...
Yeah, I would agree with you, mate. I would just say that, if this is the one player to sort our PSR out, then that's the one that I would be happy. I would be happy enough to sell him. There isn't people queuing up for for some of these other players. I've seen other people as well say, well, can we not get rid of some of the the rubbish first, and I don't like to call any player rubbish.
No,
everyone's come in.
It's disrespectful, isn't it?
Of course it is. Everyone's come in and come for the right reasons. Matt Targett was my player of the season that first season he came back in. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was just as good as Trippier when he came in. Trippier was a touch of class, but Targett on that opposite side was superb and played a big part in keeping us up. He's just been unfortunate that injuries blighted the rest of his time at the club. But these players aren't going to be shifted easily. We've seen lots of stories in the press, whether it's true or not, about Ryan Fraser. That he's been offered a deal by Southampton, but ultimately, if the deal that's offered to him by Southampton isn't something that suits him, then he's going to hold out. He's probably quite happy to sit at Newcastle, isn't he, in the reserves, wallowing away. And
I don't want to express my opinions on Ryan Fraser.
Well, that's what's going to happen, though, isn't it? That's what's going to happen. That's the problem. We're not going to. You can't get rid of players.
Sorry, Steve. Miggy was the one who was highlighted today, wasn't he? In terms of, I think it was the Chronicle, the usual sort of clicking, stating the fact that he doesn't want to leave Newcastle. Well, what are you going to do? I think sometimes the club have to just be a bit hard if that's the case and just say, listen, there's no squad number for you. There's no position. If some of these players don't, they must have been told. And just, you've got to be harsh and say, sorry, there's no squad place. You've got to be playing with the kids unless you go. I'm not, you've done a magnificent job. Well done. See you later. Thank you very much. You can get a standing ovation next time we see you. I think you just have to be a little bit more ruthless. And as you say, if you're on a massive wedge and the money's financially working for you, then why would you go? Why would you go to a club who are going to offer you half the wages? I wouldn't go to another job for half the money that I'm getting. I mean, you'd be mad. So, why would a professional footballer do that? So,
Okay, well, that takes us on to Callum Wilson. Wilson is another one on that list of people who, I said this at the start of the summer, we will get sick of discussing certain names, and we're certainly being presented with the same names week in, week out. But there seems to be a lot of noise around Wilson at the weekend. West Ham, of course, quite heavily involved in that kind of chatter. You get the feeling Wilson wouldn't mind a move to West Ham. It would be the Premier League.
His mates as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, the Wilson story, I find it a bit galling that Newcastle will consider selling him before they bring somebody in, for starters.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to get caught with your pants down. Because ultimately, you're also going to be in a position, if we sell Wilson and we still haven't got a striker in through the door, any potential suitor is then going to look at that and go, well, Newcastle's desperate now. They've only got Alexander Isak. So, I would have thought, hopefully, whoever is dealing with transfers, and we're led to believe that it's Eddie Howe's nephew and Steve Nixon who are, working with Amanda Staveley on transfers, would be hoping that the common sense would prevail and they would be at least thinking, well, hold on a minute, we've got to keep a hold of them. So I guess that is why the Dominic Calvert-Lewin story has been doing the rounds. We've seen as close as we can for confirmation that Newcastle bid for him, but I think it was a realistic bid. I think Newcastle aren't going to pay a stupid amount of money to get Calvert-Lewin, especially with
7 million, wasn't it? So that was the quoted price.
Come on, what we're doing paying for the new stadium? I mean, it's really crazy. So those two stories have almost dovetailed, haven't they? Because Wilson going out and Calvert-Lewin coming in. Would you have said that was a direct replacement, Sid? Would you have been happy? I've got to be honest, on goals scored, I would have said we were probably weren't getting a better player.
No, I agree. I think in terms of goals scored, well, the stats are there for you. Wilson's stats over the last 4 years are considerably better. I mean, what Calvert-Lewin does offer, he's fantastic in the air. He is great in the air. He's also quick. He can go down the channels as well. He does play the channels, so he does offer that. And he also breaks the lines as well. So he's quite a different type of striker. However, he's not prolific. And at the end of the day, if you're a centre forward, your job is to bang the ball in the back of the net. So yes, he does the build-up play thing really well, but so does Wilson. Although Wilson, let's be honest, he doesn't run down the channels anymore. We've physically watched him stop doing that over the last 4 years. But personally, I think Wilson's a better finisher. I do. I don't think there's much between them. I think I mean, look at Wilson last year. He played a third games less and still scored more goals. I think that tells you all you need to know. And would I have Calvert-Lewin as a third choice striker? I would have him, because you then, in terms of you let your Chris Wood role, where who's going to come on and do something a little bit different, and you might have to have a game where you've got that sort of thing where you want to sort of bomb balls into the box for his heading ability or whatever. Absolutely fine. I'll bring him on for 20 minutes at the end of a game. Super. But I certainly wouldn't be going out to buy him as a main choice striker. And for 37 million, that's insane. If that's true, I mean, I personally think he's about 10, 12 million max, because he's in the last year of his contract. The same with Wilson. Wilson's in his last year of his contract. So you're talking, what, 15, 20 at a real push? The prices seem really inflated for players who are in the last year of their contract. So I might like Calvert-Lewin partially as a player, but he certainly wouldn't be a first choice. He wouldn't be a second choice. But as a third choice striker, yeah, I'd probably go for that. That's it, though. And I would personally go out and buy a younger player. I mean, I was talking about Pedro, I think it is, the lad at Brighton. That would be the type of striker I would like to have wished we'd got, when we had the chance of getting him. But, I think that ship's probably sailed now. So I would go for a younger one. Or Tammy Abrahams is going for 25 million, allegedly. Go and get him. He's a good player.
That's the player that I've said on more than one occasion on this platform that would probably fit Newcastle's style as well, and it's whether he would be up for coming and playing at Newcastle. Yeah,
I think he's a good player. And I think he can also play when you have Gordon on and you have stick Isak on the wing, and you can actually have him as the centre focus, like the focus as well. So he can play in and out in various roles, or you can sometimes have Isak as a 10 if you want to go down that route a little bit as well. So we can mix up the formations and the styles. I think he's a terrific player. I really do. And he's probably not in the England squad because he had a real big injury this year, and he's only just come back in the last month or 6 weeks beforehand, because I personally think he's better than the Villa lad, for example. But he's just been unlucky this year with his injuries. And also, let's be honest, Southgate. I'm not sure Southgate knows where Italy is, because he didn't bother going watching the centre half over there. He's not going to watch any of the players who are in foreign countries apart from Jude Bellingham.
Yeah,
and obviously Harry Kane just speaks for himself as a player, so he's a shoe-in anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the transfer window doesn't close until the 30th of August, but I guess the upsurge in all the stories about potential deals is because, as I mentioned before, it's the end of the financial year on Sunday, which will be June the 30th. And there is pressure on clubs to comply with the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules. And that's what's forcing, teams to find a way around them. Creative accountancy solutions is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
It might not make sense in pure footballing terms, but that's what clubs are trying to do. And I guess that's why the whole Calvert-Lewin to Newcastle and Minty to Everton thing came up at the weekend as well. The
Absolutely.
And rumors that this is what this one's worth, this is what this one's worth. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that this is a big. It's a big red herring with Calvert-Lewin, and Newcastle are trying to do some business elsewhere, and that Minty is going to get offloaded, and Newcastle will then be able to do some business bringing somebody else in. But I guess we'll wait and see. The other story that broke over the weekend was the Max Kilman one, which I found really interesting. And there was a player plus cash deal mooted with regards to him. Obviously, West Ham also interested in the Wolves defender, and I think we all know that despite the fact that we have got a lot of centre-halves at the club, the fact that two of them probably won't play until December, January means we are quite weak at the back should we get another injury early doors. So, yeah, Kilman, linked with a player cash deal, and Elliot Anderson was mooted as a potential outgoing player. I mean, I found that strange, and I know you've said it more than one occasion on here about Sean Longstaff. You wouldn't be sad to see Longstaff be the one who goes.
No, terrific lad, obviously, but no.
Would you be disappointed to see Anderson go, or do you agree?
I'd be gutted. I've openly said I'm a big fan of Elliot Anderson, not just because he lives around here, but he's a good player. I think he's a good player. I think it's unfortunately one of those problems he's got is he can play in a number of positions, but we've sold players in the past who can play a number of positions and regretted it. And I think you sometimes have to have one in this squad I mean, he's a guy for me who can play as a 6 because I think he's really intelligent and he's able to read the game really well. I would actually like to see him have a go in that position because I don't think he's ever going to get a chance playing left wing, which is where he played when he went to Bristol Rovers, was it? I think he can play. I think his natural position's is 10, but we don't play that system. He's come on and done really, really well playing the Joe Linton style role, which I think is excellent. And personally, I would have him ahead of Willock, but I'm not sure how fancies him enough for that. I mean, he's a technically very good player. His first touch is terrific, which I always judge a player by their first touch. And I think he's considerably better than Longstaff. And as again, I'm not having to go at Longstaff. I think he's done really, really well. But I would sell him. I think he's reached his limit. Whereas I think Elliot Anderson's limit is considerably, his ceiling is considerably higher. And again, the same conversation will be had for Miley in a year or two's time as well. Because if Miley doesn't get any quicker, then we will have the same sort of conversation, really. So yeah, I would be gutted to see Elliot Anderson go. And also, what happens when we get to Europe then? What happens in terms of the homegrown sort of player system? How does that work then? If you've got rid of a homegrown player, you're gonna have to bring another one or two through. I'd be good at the same because I think the lad's got so much potential. I personally, as I see him as a 6, but I know nobody else does. Well, that's fair enough. But I can see him also, as I say, playing a 10, but we won't play that system. And if we do, I suspect Howe will go out and buy a Morgan Gibbs White who could play that system. So that'd be good. And I'm not sure about
what about Max Kilman? What about Max Kilman? I mean, he played most of the games last season. The ones he didn't play, he was on the bench. So
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced because I think he's a good player. He's a decent player. He's the captain, which I think always goes a long way. I mean, we got Lloyd Kelly, who was a captain for a while at Bournemouth. Now, I personally, this might be controversial, I think Lloyd Kelly will be our starting left back. So I still think we'll have a left centre half, which I think he's left-footed, isn't he, Kilman? Or will we have Burns starting, who was superb, let's be honest, for the second half of the season when he switched to his proper position. I just, the way I look at it is when we buy players now, and this is my template is, would they get in the Chelsea squad? Would they get into the Arsenal squad? Would they get into the Manchester City squad? And certainly if they wouldn't get the Chelsea and Arsenal squad, then why are we buying them? That would be the way I look at it. And do I think Kilman would get in? No. I might be proven wrong and look like an absolute fool, and I'm happy to put my hands up if that's the case. But from what I've seen, and I've seen him a few games, and he's looked pretty good, but he's not lightning quick, and I want to see a lightning quick centre-half who's got a bit more about him. Personally, you look at his stats and the data, and it's all right, it's pretty good. But is he better than Fabian Schär? No. So I don't want to be buying a player who plays in that position who's no better than the guy we've already got. As I say, I always use the Kevin Keegan statement, buy better than what you've got. And I think that's really what we have to do. Whether it's a smoke screen, I don't know. What's really unusual, up till recently, we didn't know who we were going to buy. Nobody knew who Newcastle were going to buy. And all of a sudden, Sky are coming out with all these statements now, oh, this is happening, this is happening. And you think, well, how do you know? Because before we didn't know, nobody knew about Tonali. He literally just rocked up. We thought, what the hell's this? I'd never heard of him, if I'm being honest. And you just thought, wow, who's he? And same with Bruno. Bruno just turned up 2-3 days. And, oh, wow, where'd that come from? I knew who Bruno was because he'd been offered to Everton for 13 million the year before.
Yeah.
But you're thinking, well, how's all of this suddenly coming out into the public domain? I'm not sure I buy that. I'm not sure I buy any of this.
Agents.
Of course it is. But if I were the club, then I would not be talking. It's weird because you look at Kilman and I think he's got the same agent as Eddie Howe and a number of our players, and it seems to be a lot of the clubs buy from specific agents, don't they? There's definitely a sort of, I know you'll do a great job for me, this, that, and the other, and we'll go and buy your players. If people are sort of mouthing out, I would walk. I think they should just walk away. If people are mouthing out and giving off the info, walk. You know, I'd rather see the 2 or 3 days later somebody just rock up with the shirts and the scarf above their head, and I want to see that rather than all this banter going on Sky and all the rest of it. I'd also, last little point, I'm sick of us being linked. Every player seems to be English. You know, have we not looked abroad? Have we not looked abroad? I noticed we were linked once with the Italian centre half, who looks fantastic. You know, I can't pronounce his name, but go and buy him. He looks magic. He looks like a proper old school Italian centre half, comfortable on the ball, really skillful, wears a headband, and really, really good. You know, I want to see a little bit more variation rather than all these English players we've been linked to, like when, for example, we were linked to Conor Gallagher. That would have been so underwhelming. You know, go and buy somebody else. And yes, they don't have to have an Eno on the end of their name or anything like that. But, you know, please use your scouts. Let's see, you know, let's see a range of players coming in. Yes, English players, but also sort of a range of other players as well from Italy or Germany or Portugal or wherever it may be. So.
Okay, great stuff. Halfway through the show, time for the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. You can find their website at skipsandbins.com. Contact us, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners in 2024. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts. You can find them at www.media-arts.co.uk. And don't forget, we are a podcast. You can find us on iTunes or Spotify or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel grow, then hit the like button, the little thumb underneath the video, click share and share to your social media, or join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to take out a one-off payment membership, go to nufcmatters.com and hit membership. And for a £25 fee, you get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. You can also put a smartphone over the top of this QR code. It'll take you straight there. And don't forget, we also help the food bank on this channel. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is a website where you can make a virtual donation today.
Okay, welcome back to NUFC Matters. It's time for Rock and Rob. Hi, Rob. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you both. How are you?
Good to see you, Rob. Yeah, very good.
Good stuff. What are you bringing into this week, mate?
There you go, Sid.
Classic.
Yes, I thought of you, Sid. I thought, I'm going to do something that we both like, just because. Great album. This was, 1986. The singles off it were Grass, Dear God, Meeting Place. Produced by Todd Rundgren. I think Andy Partridge found very difficult to work with. I'm sure they got through it. Opens with Summer's Cauldron, really good opener, nice summer sound, sounds of nature around bees, etc. Again, beautifully delivered vocals, lovely harmonies, as you would expect. Top draw bass runs from the mighty Colin Moulding. They've got Grass, Colin Moulding on vocals. Again, said you'll know all this. It was sort of Andy sort of seen him as a little bit of competition because he was more of a pin-up boy at the time, and he was coming out with songs himself, taking lead vocal parts. So yeah, nice acoustic guitar, nice bongos as well. I think this is his first single on the album. It's a romantic song, sort of romantic theme song, nice swooping orchestra arrangements. It's sort of like a lover's picnic, a bass song. Really lovely. I just love it. It's just such a warm sound. It's just perfect. The Meeting Place, again, Colin Moulding again on vocals. Great rolling riff on this one, sort of a bit more of an industrial feel. I think it was based on Swindon's and industrial history. This first charted at 100. So again, it's a brilliant song. I mean, not all songs hit the top 10. Then you've got number 4. That's really Super Girl. It's Andy Partridge back in vocals with this one. I think this would have made a good single, a good pop song. Sort of fun, sarcastic lyrics. Andy does that very, very well. Good, very, very quirky. Nice guitar solo by Dave Gregory on this song. Then you've got Bally for a Rainy Day. Again, 1960s feel, sort of mid-tempo. It's okay, sort of decent lyrics. It's about art and drawing, which is Andy's, hobby. He does a lot of like pop art stuff. Again, said you'll know all this. Nice enough song with a good bridge section on it. Then we have 1,000 Umbrellas. It's sort of like a somber song. It's a bit Eleanor Rigby-esque, I would say. Not that I know much about the Beatles. Nice string arrangements. It's a pleasant enough song. But Season Cycle, love this song. Really, really good. Really good. Even on the Coat Full of Many Cupboards, the demo on this is really good as well. It's a happy, sort of good feel, top drawer key changes on this one. It's got a bit of a Beach Boys sort of feel to it. Simply, I'd encourage people to go and listen to this, called Season Cycle. It's just brilliant. I just love it. Then Earn Enough for Us, solid drumming on this one, really good. I think the drummer's he's touring with a band called XTC, sort of touring sort of style, but yeah, pretty influential as a drummer. Sort of like reminds me of more of a late 70s sound, sort of post-punk, but a working man trying to earn his best. That's it, basic. Then you've got Big Day, Colin Moulding, back on vocals. It's about marriage, warning youngsters about how hard marriage can be. Mid-tempo. It's okay, a bit drony now and again, but I think it would have been decent on Dukes of Stratosphere album side project they had. Then you've got Mermaid Smile, Then you've got Another Satellite. It's a slow, trippy one. Again, bass line's brilliant on this one. So I think this is a reflection on Andy Partridge's failed marriage, past marriage. Mermaid Smiled after that. Nice vocals again. A song sort of quite jazzy, a nice horn section. Sort of like a magical Under the Sea sort of feel to it. Great vocals. It's sort of one of these songs that sort of grow with you. And you've got The Man Who Sailed Around His Soul, sort of jazzy blues vibe. If you thought of like a cheesy spy movie in the 80s, it would probably be like that. But lyrically, really, really, really good. It's a well-worked song lyrically. Then we've got Dear God, Sid. I'll not say anything about that. We all know the history with that. It got banned and then it got played, and people taken hostage until they played it in schools in America with the tannoys. So it's a bit controversial. So you've got Diane again, Colin Moulding on vocals again. That beautiful warm again. I love Colin's vocals. I really do. It's just like a warmth and a depth. It's about his ex-neighbour. That's it. Lovely and sad, quite dark, bit of a tearjerker. A nice song though. Then we have Sacrificial Bonfire, Colin Moulding on vocals again. It's got a medieval quality in this one. It's quite an odd song to end on, very sombre again. Nice grand orchestral parts on this. It's really a good song. And I would like to say as well that the bass players and other musicians, singers, songwriters and guitarists, I mean, you think of Colin Moulding, you think of his bass, and I think he's underrated as a bass player. It's the same with his vocals, are really good. I mean, you think of Eric Clapton, you think of guitar, you don't take away his vocal parts. Glenn Tilbury, absolutely one of the best guitarists going. And his vocals, you seem to get categorised, but Colin Moulding, I just love his voice. I just love his warm tone. Love Partridge's cheeky, childish, sarcastic lyrics. But really, really good. So unfortunately, I don't have a show and tell. The reason is because I'm bringing a couple of items down for Sid that I know he doesn't have, that I'd like to give Sid as a gift when I'm down. So he will see the show and tell then when I'm down on the 20th. So that's me. That's a 9.5 out of 10.
Well, it's a great album. They re-released it, didn't they? Apparently when they recorded it, they had one of the leads in the wrong way, and they released it that way. And to coin Doctor Who, they reversed the polarity in terms of switching the leads the correct way, and you got a much bigger sound. And but they released it with the rude cover, and it was literally a woman's lady garden on the front with flowers in, bizarrely.
Yeah.
But it's a great album, and the song, The Meeting Place, they did the video at the place where they did The Prisoner. It's a great video.
It's a great album.
Great album.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Top stuff.
All right, and Sid, so what have you got for us? And I did want to show this, Sid, by the way.
Yeah, that was I got sent that bizarrely. Yeah, Millie Jackson. It's a proper album sleeve. Can you believe it? I mean, how insane is that?
I can believe it.
Weird, absolutely weird.
I think that just competes with some of the ones that we've had sent by Rob for albums that he's not going to do. I think that goes into that box quite nicely. But you have brought us something a bit more civil.
Yes, I've gone with Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys, which I think is a great album. Now, interestingly, on my show, there's a guy called Jeremy Chatan, and Jeremy is the guy who did the photograph for the album, and he's also was originally in the Beastie Boys. So he was an original member when they were the Aboriginal, whatever they were called. They were sort of punk band, and then they became the Beastie Boys. He was the original bass player. So yeah, Jeremy did the sleeve. He's a great bloke, Jeremy. Anyway, it's an album which is just. It was probably their groundbreaking album. It's the album that stopped them having their reputation of being like a jock, an American jock type band. And this is the first proper serious album, if you liked. It's been described as like the Sgt. Peppers of hip hop. It's got over 105 samples on it. I mean, this would not be allowed to be released now. They spent £250,000 at the time getting sample rights, and even then they didn't get all of them because the Beatles threatened to sue them and all sorts. I mean, just some of the acts that are sampled on this. You've got the Beatles, James Brown, Led Zeppelin, the Ramones, Curtis Mayfield, Bob Marley, Rose Royce, Donald Trump, bizarrely, the theme tune to E.T., the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles would never let you have a sample. ZZ Top, Star Wars, Psycho, Bob Dylan, Pink Floyd, Rambo, and Die Hard. And that's just some of the sort of some of the samples on there. It's crazy the amount of samples. It's almost like you listen to it because you listen to the album all as one piece. That's the nice thing about this album. I don't think you just dive in. And so it's almost like you've got to listen to it start to finish because it all flows together. It's brilliant in terms of the genres and the styles because they cover hip hop, soul, funk, punk, rock, jazz. They've got just cover all the genres, but in a cracking sort of way, light-hearted at times, quite serious and other times. It's just a great album with some great songs like Shake Your Rump, Johnny Royale, High Plains Drifter, The Sound of Science, Hey Ladies, which is funny. The Car Thief's a great song. Just go and check it out. Even if you're not into hip hop, it's a really cool sort of album. Very, very different. Not what you would expect. A really terrific album. It really is a real groundbreaker of an album. Chuck D once described it as the album. When he heard it, he was really jealous. He says all the black rappers were gutted when they heard that. Well, then they heard that the white boys were doing a better beat than they were, you know. And that was coming from Chuck D, the sort of king of hip hop, if you like. So it's just a terrific album. The band are just a great band. I think they're one of the underrated bands in some respects because they don't get mentioned enough yet. When you look at all the reviews, all the albums get terrific reviews. Just a great band, Beastie Boys. I got at them quite late as well. So Paul's Boutique, it was a proper shop. Used to have a telephone number and people used to genuinely ring up the number as well. So there you go, Paul's Boutique. Give it a go by the Beastie Boys. It's their second album. They have got better albums, but this is the one that's maybe the one that it's always a good one to start off with, I think.
I'll buy that, Sid. I'll buy that and give it a listen to because obviously Steve recommended NWA Public Enemy, which is a genre I've never touched on. So yes, I will. That's my next purchase.
I think Ill Communication's probably the one I would go with, but it's a great album. It's a super album to start with.
What one, sorry?
I've carried on the same lines. So Yeah, so I've got the book, and it's obviously the Beastie Boys book, as they call it. Now, the audio book's fabulous because the audio book, each surviving member gets to speak on it because one of them's sadly dead. Adam Yauk, known as MCA, is dead, unfortunately. Hence, the band finished at that point. And as well as the key members of the band speaking through it, they've got the original female drummer, Kate Shellback. She's on there. She's terrific. And they actually apologise in the book to her for their behaviour towards them when they were younger, when they were a hardcore punk band, which is what they started off as. We've got guests such as Bette Midler, Elvis Costello, Chuck D, Ben Stiller, bizarrely, Jarvis Cocker. So there's quite a range of different speakers on, reading each separate chapter. Even if you're not into hip-hop, it's a great read, because it's telling you about the punk scene of the late 70s, early 80s in New York. It's telling us about the music scene, how they got into it through watching Run DMC, for example. They talk about making the different albums. It's quite funny, but also quite dark at times as well, obviously with Adam Yauk having cancer, and they talk about that. It's one of the best audio books that I've heard, but also the actual book itself is beautifully packaged. There's some great photographs in it. It's a really well put together book. It's probably one of the top 2 or 3 music biographies, autobiographies that I've read. I think it's right up there at the very top end. It's a terrific read, and as I say, even if you're not into hip hop, it's a terrific it's just so different. It's really enjoyable to listen to as well as an audio book. So there we go. That's my review.
I find it fascinating. Said you talked about the late 70s, sort of like American punk band, and you see kids today wearing the Converse and the ripped jeans, and that's where it came from.
Yeah, I mean, the Ramones were doing that in 1975.
Exactly. Yeah. You know? Yeah, I just chuckle when I see the kids nowadays, and yeah, it's interesting.
I'm going to keep you on, Rob, for this, because this is quite a wide open topic, and I'm going to start with you, Sid. Normally we would finish up on the music and just finish off on something a bit different, but just want to talk about this. This was the Portugal game.
Yes.
And the kid in the middle of the first photograph ran onto the pitch and asked Cristiano Ronaldo if he could have a selfie. And you can see Ronaldo's face there. He encourages the kid. He doesn't want to shout and bawl. He's got a public image to protect, but basically he posed for the photograph with the kid, and that was that. But subsequently, because of that, what we ended up with was those 5 pitch invasions all took place in the same game. There were other attempts as well. I think there were at least another 2 attempts by people to get on the pitch and get a selfie with Ronaldo. Now, I just found this bizarre. I really did, because it's a football match. People are going there to watch football. They're not going there to get a photo. But this really is such a strange story, and I think it's a worrying trend as well, in the sense that security measures clearly aren't top of the agenda, Sid, for the stewards there. And I mean, there is that old adage, you get what you pay for. These people, as we know, aren't on vast amounts of money to do stewarding. And, ultimately these big events, I guess they struggle because they've got multiple games going on. They're probably at breaking point trying to get people in. So there is a chance that people are trained up quite quickly just for these events, and maybe just aren't good enough to do the job. But I just found that really bizarre. And I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo encouraging the young kid, we understand why, but probably didn't help the cause. But what did you make of that when you saw that story?
Yeah, because you don't see it on the TV because they block it, don't they? So I never saw any of them on the TV. I think it's a really worrying precedent. I mean, obviously Ronaldo is one of the top 2 global football superstars, along with Messi, and it's really worrying because, I mean, yes, you can have all they've brought knives on the pitch and this, but that is true, and we could laugh and people might laugh and joke about it as much as they like, but that could be a scenario, and we can't overlook these things, you really can't, because it just takes one nutter to get onto the pitch to do something, and then all hell will break loose, really. And as you say, the big thing is why? What the hell are the security guards doing? What are they doing? Nobody should be able to break through on that pitch. Not one person should be able to get through. And if not, they need to get more. And I appreciate if for certain games, you might need to get more. sort of guards on with regards to global superstars. But there aren't many global superstars, but Ronaldo is one of them. And I think that's something that they should have maybe taken into consideration. I've no doubt they will do the next game Portugal play. But that could have been too late, couldn't it? And we could be talking about something absolutely horrific if that were the case. I mean, yes, he was lovely to the young kid, but as you say, it sort of exacerbates the situation then, because others think, oh, well, I'll do that. Group of morons running on getting the photographs taken. You know, the other option is literally stick him in a cell overnight, you know, which seems really harsh. But hey, at the end of the day, you shouldn't be running on a pitch getting a photograph taken with a footballer.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I also feel when I saw that, I felt the referee could have helped. I mean, again, Sid's right. We don't see the angles on TV. They take it straight away in case there's something, you know, that you don't want to see at home, kind of thing. But I think after the first one, I think fair enough. It's a little kid. Oh, bless him. You know, we'll let him do it. But then when another guy runs on, I think the referee could have probably helped the situation by saying to both teams, right, I'm stopping the game. Everybody off into the dressing room for half an hour. And I think peer pressure in the crowd would have changed things, because I think people then would have acted accordingly. If somebody looked as if they were going to run the pitch, would have gone, whoa, stop it. You know, don't bother. The game's been stopped already for once. You know, I've got to get home. Probably because it's TV coverage is probably the reason we didn't see the referee act like that. But I think the referee could have helped, Rob.
Yeah, but then again, if they had done that, if they had stopped it, you're going to get rumblings of people, you know, maybe been drinking and saying if it wasn't for your kid or etc. and intentions run high that way. But like you say, I mean, there's times and places for situations like this. You can go to corporate events, you can queue outside hotels, but like you say, there's no room for it for running on pitches. And people, like a lot of people, are just sheep. They follow each other, which is obviously what's happened. It's just ridiculous. I mean, long gone are the days if that had happened, you would have got rugby tackled down and grabbed by the scruff of the neck and booted out the stadium. So now it's that thing, but I don't want to get involved. I can't touch them. I can't touch them physically and drag them out. So those days are gone. So now it's like, I don't want to get involved. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? But I do feel for the stewards as well, because I don't know. It's just, I mean, what are their do's and don'ts? But it's not right. There's times and places, and it isn't during games, and you know, it's a football. But again, I think, like you say, I think they had to stopped it, that possibly could have escalated. It just takes one person that's had a few beers to say to the person beside them, if it wasn't for you, your family, or anyone associated with you, this wouldn't have happened. They're going to defend their kid or the wee one, and it just escalates. And then before you know it, you've got about 40, 50 folk kicking off. So I know.
Yeah, I think you're right. It prompted me to write a poem, lads, about selfies. and some people on here do appreciate the poem, so I will read it. Stand still or you win. Pass me my specs. This modern day trend has had an effect. Once we took photos on cameras, not phones. Most people had one and kept it at home. Photos were taken straight down the lens, capturing memories of families and friends. And if you were lucky, celebs who were wealthy. But good photos disappeared with the birth of the selfie. One big head or a long arm, photo bombing, they say, causes no harm. But it's ruined the photo that we all once knew. I'm one for tradition, not newfangled and new. So next time a photo comes into your head, don't take a selfie. Have someone take it instead. So there you are. A little poem to share with the viewers as well. Just want to ask you about the band, Rob, before we let you go. Give up the ghost. What's happening?
I've got one more rehearsal. Sort of, we've missed two. Craig's away at a gig, and I think Paul's away to see Green Day or something this week or next week. So yeah, we've got one more rehearsal, but smashing it. Simple as that. End of. Just nailing it. Really good. No issues. 3 hour set. Like I say, we've done some new songs, and we've got new songs on the horizon. So yeah, all good. All good.
Great stuff, mate.
Stuff.
If you want to meet Rob and Sid, come to the end of season 2. Both are coming. 20th of July, 5 till late. NUFCmatters.com, NewcastleLegends.com. Tickets at tenner. Supermatt and Gibbo and George and the Long Sands giving you some entertainment, and it's all in aid of Dementia Matters. Rob, thanks very much, mate. Look forward to having you on again next week, mate.
Okay, guys. Nice seeing you both again.
Take care, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Okay, mate. We've got one more topic before we finish the show. Just want to ask you about pre-season. I did notice something on NUFC.com. I've got to agree with the lads, Biffer and the lads. You know, they posted a little piece on there, and it basically just was entitled "Silence." It said Thursday brought press reports of a friendly visit to Championship side Hull City in late July, yet to be 100% confirmed. City have announced kickabouts away at Doncaster Rovers on Tuesday, July the 23rd, and at home to Florentina on Tuesday, July the 30th. Aside from the Japan tour, Newcastle are still to reveal their pre-season schedule. A lack of information, sadly reminiscent of previous regimes on Barrack Road. As and when we glean anything, we'll add details online here. Apologies to those asking. We just don't know what they're doing. P.S. Details of the proposed Cellar Cup tournament at St James's Park are also still awaited. It's a bit strange, this. I mean,
very late, isn't it?
You know, we're coming into the very last few days of June here, and we still don't know what we're doing. It's bizarre, Sid, and they should be coming out and giving us some kind of information now, because people do book the holidays around this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether, I don't know what the situation is with regards to new sponsorship deals in terms of the 1st of July, and whether it's all going to be sort of linked together and there's going to be some big sort of hoo-ha. I genuinely don't know, because it seems very late. Normally by now we know who's going to appear in the Cellar Trophy for the two back-to-back days in that second weekend. I think it is in August or whenever it is, or the first weekend, and then obviously everyone's able to go and get the tickets then, and they normally have a 2-for-1 deal, don't they? You know, where you can get to watch 2 games in a day, or you can go and watch 4 games over the 2 days. And they're normally not bad experiences, actually, because there's loads of little kids there, and it's, you know, you get to see little kids actually get the opportunity to go to the match who are normally unable to go with their parents, or you can take your kids there, and it's just lovely, you know. But yeah, it's very strange. I mean, I don't know anything about the Japanese thing at all. I know we're going. I don't know who we're playing. I haven't got a clue. Is it going to be televised? We don't know. How much they're going to get? We don't know.
I think they're going to. I think the original talk about the Japan tour suggests that Newcastle could make another 5 or 6 million on that. You know, which makes it, you know, well worth going. Makes it well worth going. And you know, of course,
market-wise, it's superb in terms of that sort of market that we've not really targeted before.
Yeah. Wednesday the 31st, for those of you who probably have forgotten this, Wednesday the 31st of July, Urawa Red Diamonds, Newcastle take them on in the Saitama Stadium. And then on Saturday the 3rd of August, Yokohama F. Marinos. We take them on.
Then I didn't know anything about it, if I'm being perfectly honest.
So we do take them on in the National Stadium on the 3rd of August. So there is a couple of friendlies announced, but both in Japan. And then, of course, Newcastle will come back, have a few days training, and then they'll be into the Cellar Cup, which is going to take place, I think, with the Spanish and Italian opposition at St James's Park the following weekend. But yeah, I think as well with the new membership as well, there is going to be the friendlies are going to be televised on there, which means that, you know, you'll be able to get, if you're a Magpies Plus card holder, you'll be able to get them on NUFC TV. Or you'll probably be able to pay for them separately if you want to do that. But yeah, you know, we just want to get, you know, information. I guess that's what we need. We need people.
It is, yeah, because I normally go to the pre-season friendlies. I quite like going, to be perfectly honest. None of my mates go, you know, but I quite like going to them because you always get to see some different players, and you get to see get a feel for the formation and
me too.
Play. So I always quite like it. It's not a bad little day out, you know.
It's usually a different crowd as well. You tend to find it's us old for to go. It's the people who've got. It's people who've got a little bit of walking under their belt, you know, a few matches under their belt, a few decades under their belt, who still go to these games. I managed to go to York City a couple of years ago during we're still going through that whole lockdown period, and you know, there was no way. Yeah, I was there. It was 28 degrees in the stand, and we lost 1-0. Steve Watson was managing York. But fantastic, man, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, pre-season, get them announced, Newcastle, so we can go to them.
Yeah, well, what I would like to have seen is if Newcastle are over in Japan, why didn't they just go and book an extra game in South Korea? where there's a massive fan base. Go and exploit that fan base, you know, on that market, you know, or another country over that area, you know, and try and mop up a little bit, you know, and maybe do 4 or 5 games within a vicinity, you know, over a 2-week period. There's, you know, there's money to be had.
Makes more sense, doesn't it? Makes more sense.
Absolutely.
Well, that's another great show. Thanks to Rob for joining us. Thanks to Sid. Songs from the Attic 1977. Give him a sub on YouTube. And we will be back next week. And we'll be heading into July when pre-season is on everyone's minds. The transfer window should be in full throw because we'll be into the next financial window. So, as always, plenty to talk about. Big week, yeah. Big week. But thanks for joining us, Sid. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.